Hello and welcome to Arsenal Above All. If you're talking about Carlsberg weekends, you're probably talking about a good one for being a Gooner, especially with us dispatching the noisy neighbours, the champions-elect, the super mighty Tottenham Hotspur. And then you have, of course, Tony Adams waltzing his way through to the next round of Strictly Come Dancing. And obviously, it's always great to see Man United get turned over. And they obviously were blowed up by Erling Targaryen, I'll call him, to help me go through those bits and pieces. Tonight, I've got two great guests back with me. I've got Neil Shah and Stephen Osakwe. How you doing, guys?
Brilliant. Lovely to be on again, and thank you for having me on. And nice to meet you, Stephen.
Pleasure. Yeah, great. Thanks for having us back on again, Neil. Good to meet you. It's been a good weekend.
Brilliant.
Oh, yes, it has been. It's been fantastic. So, guys, obviously we turned over the Shadow Dwellers, the Trophy Dodgers, the Muppets, whatever you want to call them. Obviously, this is trying to be a family show, so we'll take it to that level. Neil, obviously it was quite a big build up, and obviously a lot of pressure that was put on us by the outside sources, by the pundits again. What was your take on a sensational performance by the boys in red and white?
Where do you begin? Absolutely phenomenal. It just shows our strength of character, how far we've come in months to be able to prep for a game which has got so much about it, so much history and so much bragging rights, and they know how the fans are always getting very nervous and G'd up for a North London derby, and that always puts a little bit of pressure on, I guess, the club and the players as well. And we just came out and dominated. I mean, we might have had a small patch where they took control, but apart from that, it was a complete domination. It was great tactics by Arteta. Conte turned into a coward by doing his silly substitution near the end, and apparently to protect the players of the Champions League. Yeah, whatever. What, in a North London derby with 20 minutes to go? Really? Nah, I don't think so somehow. And I just think that it goes a long way to stamp our intent on this Premiership. People were moaning that we hadn't played anyone of note. Well, of course we had. We'd played 7 Prem teams before that. Now, they're number 8, and we've got 7 wins. 7 wins out of 8. I mean, and what people are still saying, well, we haven't been tested yet. So when will we be tested? After 20 games, 25 games, or after we've actually lifted the trophy? Is that when they might say that? Oh yeah, they're not too bad actually. It's just ridiculous, but it just gives us momentum, and it gives us belief to even overcome those very tricky, dodgy ties. A North London derby, form books go out the window. One team could be playing amazing, the other could be playing bad. I never take anything, because a North London derby is just something different. Historically, we've had a few which have been very dry because they're so kind of giving each other too much respect, and they've been very dull affairs. But in recent years, we've been seeing goals, we've been seeing some excellent goals, as we saw in the one on the weekend, and it was just great to be a part of it. And I'm just so happy that, elated, Michael. I can't say anything more than that.
Yeah, we came, we saw. I think there's a flag or something. We saw, we conquered, or something like that in the clock end. Steve, we definitely did that. I think there's been a lot of plaudits given to the likes of Ben White and his performance, and how he disjointed their right hand, their right hand side, or their left hand side, I should say. Obviously, your take on the game and the performance, but for me, Ramsdale's save at the beginning, after a couple of 12 minutes, I think it was massive, and I thought he showed a very, very mature side. There was one instance where he came out when, obviously when I think it led to a penalty, and but other than that, he was very assured and very mature performance from him. But obviously he was my standout guy. But what about yourself? What was your take on the North London derby?
I'll always give a shout out to Ben White, because, as I said in the last program, he's he's underrated and he does his job very, very well. So a good shout out to him. Ramsdale, I read something the other day and he said when players came back to pre-season, there was a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
The energy around the players was different. Everybody was training hard. Saturday's performance, probably one of his best for us in terms of, again, how he looked, how assured he was. None of those dodgy kickouts where he's dawdling on the ball or anything like that. He was very assured. I think our backline deserve a huge amount of credit there because Zinchenko, I think he quietly went under the radar for a lot of people, but again, he's integral to that back line. I did hear while I was watching the game, somebody say something along the lines of, Tottenham were getting back into it. At no point in that game were they in. At no point. Penalty aside, at no point were they in. At no point were they on top. Just like the Brentford game, it was another dominant performance, and the players and the manager just wanted to stamp their authority on the game, and they did that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it's hard to, as Neil says, in derbies, the form goes out the window, and it's normally end to end and just like a basketball game. But like I said, the domination, that we had for the majority of the game. Again, it's another game that we've dominated. United game. We dominated, and people say, "Oh well, we got battered," but we didn't. We just got caught on 2 breaks, and that was it. And people will say we were naive. You could say that possibly, but we weren't. We weren't battered. We totally dominated that game. And I think I said, people were trying to always comparing us with Tottenham in terms of the record and everything going into this game, and we've had our 2 difficult games. United away and Tottenham. And we have dominated in both of those games. In terms of possession and shots on target, what have you. They're 2 big games. You could say with Chelsea away and obviously against us, and they were lucky to get away for a point against Chelsea, and they were dominating both of those games. So how people can still compare the 2 and say, oh well, there's, you can get away with that football. I think I said to Neil in a WhatsApp chat once that. You can have a bit of luck, but the luck will run out eventually. You can't keep having this system. They'll get more points. They'll win a lot more games. I don't think they're going to fall away or anything like that. But because the opposition they're up against, teams are up against, because of the front 3 and what have you. But I definitely think, they are going to come up against that a lot more. They're just going to get dominated and they won't be able to get away with that that style of play. Whereas with the way we play and the options that we have, not just obviously on the field, but off the field, which we touch on a little bit later. I mean, it just means that we're going to be able to, we are going to absolutely batter someone soon. It's going to be, we're going to get a stupid scoreline, 6 or 7-0 against somebody at home, maybe even away, just the way we're playing, because this dominance will turn into us scoring, having an afternoon or an evening where everything's just going to go in. We've seen it before in the past with Wenger season, but where you have that domination and everything clicks and then you'll score all those goals. But one of the people, keep talking about him is, I know this show's called Arsenal Above All, but I might have to change it to Saliba Above All, because this guy, I mean, what more can you say about this guy? I mean, I know, me and Steve talk a lot about the Arsenal merch and the amount of money they're getting out of us. I mean, you talk about the cost of living crisis. It should be the Arsenal cost of living crisis because of what they're doing to us, making us buy all this merch. But Steve, how long do you think it will be before they produce a Saliba smoking jacket with accompanied cigar as well? Because seriously, the guy he play. I've never seen. You forget his age when you see him play. You forget that he's, how old is he? 19 or something? 20?
2021.
You forget he's that age. I mean, what can you say? What more can you say about that guy? I'll give it to you because I can't say anything else about him.
When I played centre back, so I appreciate a good defender. His reading of the game is top notch. I mean, he sniffs out danger all the time. I think as we talked about last time, was the partnership he has with Gabriel. One is the ball winner, and one's the sort of more calmer head that sort of says, "Okay, I don't have to just keep on rushing out to every ball and trying to win everything. And even when he does that, he still wins the ball. And that's the crazy thing. He's just reading the game perfectly. I think Tony Adams was our youngest captain. And as a centre-back, he'll appreciate what he sees with a lot of similarities. It's just having that presence and awareness of what's actually happening around him to put on a masterclass every single week. I mean, the Man United game aside, and even then, it wasn't necessarily his fault. It was just what happened that quickly, and it was all over. But yeah, against Tottenham, like I said, people will talk about Tottenham after their penalty sort of came on top a little bit. It was never in doubt. It was never in doubt, and it's that calmness from the back that allows the forwards to the midfield and the forwards to express themselves freely. So Ramsdale is that first person at the back. He's setting that tone. As you said, Mike, he's got a mature performance in that game. He grew up a little bit. He understood the responsibilities and knew that it's not about putting the foot wrong. It's about not about taking those silly risks. It's just about doing what needs to be done. That then goes to your back line. Your back line go, okay, we've got that confidence from our goalkeeper. Look at that save he's just pulled off. He's on it. Yeah. We should be on it. And then they've gone forward. Saliba and Gabriel have along with Ben White and Zinchenko, have just gone, right, we're on it. What Saliba does is just adds that element of calm of, don't worry, guys. It's calm, innit? We've got this. I've got this. Do.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, the worrying thing, obviously, what's lurking in the shadows is his contract situation. I think I'll keep asking you guys it until it's actually signed or whatever. But are you worried about it at all? And have you seen a player come in and make become so integral to a team, an Arsenal team, probably since Vieira's days, right? But are you worried at all about his contract situation?
Not at all. Because if there was any doubts about how he felt playing at this club, I don't think he'd be playing this well. I think he's so settled, and I think he's happy, and I'm sure before long it will be sorted out. I would not worry in the slightest about it. Honestly, don't. I know everyone's not like me in being positive all the time, but I really have no fear at all about his contract. Because if there was an element where he's already eyeing the future at another club, I don't think he'd be playing this amazing. And he just seems to have a great affinity with all the other players. Look at how when he scored that goal. Look at him. It was joyous. He loved it. No one's ever going to touch Marquinhos' celebration. That made me tear up. But I have no fear at all. The guy's, Stephen said it, he's just insane for his age. His ability. He's got such a great head on shoulders. He's agile. He's the pure athlete. He's almost been built like by a machine for that position. And Stephen, you touched on it. It doesn't look like he moves fast, but he's quick and he's graceful and he's just on the defender, even if he does lose it. And then on top of that, it's not like a rough tackle to win the ball back. It's skill. Did you see that bit, what he did in the box? I don't know, in one part of the game.
Nutmeg, yeah.
Mate, that's kind of Messi, Ronaldo, Pele, Maradona-esque stuff. Come on. I'm having a debate with so many people about, he's not world-class. I think he's very close to being world-class already. And he will, I assure you, he will become one of, if not the best defender on the planet.
Yeah.
I rate him that highly.
Yeah, I just hope that, when he goes to that World Cup, which I'm sure he will, that he comes back in good shape, because, again, we're touching it again. It's just a crazy situation to be in. But, I'm amazed that, but, it's almost, if the Arteta and the club, literally had, I don't think it was the way it happened with him going away on loan so many times. I'm sure there was an occasion when they wanted to go on loan one season and then have him back, but obviously circumstances happen. But the way we've got a lot. I think the big one was Marseille, because he went to a club or a big club fan base that was really passionate and really took to him. It was almost like getting thrown into a cauldron, and that's probably the last bit that molded him into this guy who was up against Mbappe and Neymar and guys like that, and an attacking French league, very very attacking French league. So he was up against a really quick, nimble guys, and I wouldn't, if I said should I do that again with a talented centre back? No, wouldn't put him out on loan for that long. And people are always saying, oh well, if he was still part of our team, if he was there last season, would we have got over the line? We've just got to appreciate what he's doing now, and just hope we can just tie him down and secure him. Because if we were to lose him, it would be massive blow. Because
Michael, we're not going to lose him, please. You think he's going to go to another club when he's just heard the best chant of all time for his name? You really think he's going to go to another club? No way.
Hopefully not. No, you're right, Neil. Hopefully not. So just talking on obviously back in the defence, and obviously there was a lot of talk about the fullbacks and who was going to come in on who wasn't. Obviously Arteta went with total team domination and everything, but I mean I was just touching on it in regards to the depth that we have squad wise last week, but in terms of defensively on the fullbacks, I don't think I've ever come across an Arsenal fullback situation where they've just got such quality there. We were obviously we're raving about Tomiyasu and his performances when he came in last season and what a difference he's made. And the guy has hardly played, and it's not affected the way that we've played. Ben White's gone out to the right. People were saying last season, could he play in that position or could he do a job there? He did, and then obviously on the left hand side you've got the Tomiyasu and Zinchenko situation. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, really, when you think that with these four guys, there's so many different variations and so many different things that Arteta could do. If these guys, especially with Tierney, the guy in the middle, if these guys can manage to stay fit, I mean, we could really do something really really serious. Apparently, in after 8 games, teams that have got 20 points after 8 games have qualified for the Champions League and finished in the top 4. And that's what we've done that in Premier League history. So it's almost guaranteed, right? The only way we're going to not do that is if we get some massive serious injuries, right, Neil?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we're going to win the league as far as I'm concerned. So there's no doubt in my mind. Forget third or second or fourth. I'm not interested. There's only one position for Arsenal. And we will get that top spot back where it belongs in the the hallowed halls of North London. But no, I think we've got amazing depth now. We've got I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking if Saliba hadn't come along and Zinchenko hadn't come along, and we used to play the players that we might be fielding on Thursday. So you get Tierney, for example, you get Tomiyasu, possibly Holding. I think one of the two seniors will play. I think it'll be Gabriel, actually.
Yeah.
And you think about those 4, they would have been probably our first starters on 80%, 60, 70% of the last season and seasons before. Yeah. That's how good they are. And we're going to have to play them on Thursday for them to get a kick around. That's how far we have become. And it's not just there. I know there are still some positions. I know the midfield is a big thing. I think that's probably our biggest hole. That's probably where we're going to have to get someone in. And I'm 100% sure there's going to be someone coming in January. But other than that, I think we're quite well packed pretty much in most places. Once Emma Smith-Rowe's back, we've got him as well, in the attacking lineup. So he's got the flexibility to do different things, to rotate. If we're going to be challenging on 4 fronts, which at the moment we are, and there's no reason why it won't continue for a while, then he's going to need that depth, because I think at the end of the day, I think we'll all agree the most important thing this season is to finish in the top 4 and get that Champions League berth. Yeah. So to be able to do that, you need to have a good set of players that can keep that going just in case there are missing players for either suspensions or injuries or something or the other. And in the past, we haven't had that. I think that's a little bit the reason why we fell away last season. You've got to remember we had key injuries. I think it was Tierney, Partey, and who was the other one?
Tommy Yasu was out a bit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And after they fell away, we kind of crumbled.
Yeah.
And I can't see that this season. I mean, if we do lose one or two players, there'll be someone to come and take their place. And, can I just touch on something? I'm sorry to digress, but one thing that's also come to my mind about the game on the weekend, which could be pertinent, because I think in the past, because we've had a lot of overseas players, and I don't think that should make any difference, but it has come up. A lot of people were criticising, saying they don't really know what a true North London derby means. Yeah. I saw the complete opposite for the first time on that game on Saturday, because I think they all understand how important it is.
Yeah.
And also, what was significant was after we scored the first goal, Granit Xhaka getting them all into a huddle, and I think almost telling him, "Don't get excited and don't get carried away. We've still got a job to do here." And I've never seen that. I've seen huddles post game and pre game. Yeah. I've never seen that during a game, and that is a testament to what we're doing this season. Trust me.
Yeah, 100%. Steve, I mean, in touching on what Neil's just said there, and obviously the squad depth we have definitely on the fullback side. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, like Neil said, it's like everyone's on message. And like you said with what Ramsdale said, when they all came back, everyone's literally reading on the same, hymn sheet or singing from the same hymn sheet.
With the fullback situation, I mean, I didn't see Ben White as a right back last season. He played there a few times, and personally, I didn't see it at the time. But this season, obviously, he's had to come in and start at that position because Tomiyasu was injured at the beginning of the season. And again, I think because of the type of footballer he is, he's a good footballer. So you could put him anywhere, and he'd put on a good show. And that's credit to the man. That's credit to him. He's a good footballer. He knows how to play the game. He understands the game. He understands individual roles, and he's come on leap and bounds. I mean, you look at, as you say, our back four and the depth. For me, last season, whenever we missed Tierney, it was the biggest problem in the world.
Yeah.
And this season, we've got Zinchenko, and you just go, okay, if Tierney gets injured, we've got Zinchenko there. So we've got that cover, but we also have that competition.
Yeah.
And it's from the outside looking in, it looks like healthy competition because everybody's getting on. Zinchenko is our proper hype man, to be perfectly fair. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. That's what we need. They've got that camaraderie. They've got that togetherness. They've got that connection, not only with each other, but with the fans as well. You see Zinchenko down at the pub. You see Zinchenko and his wife after the North London derby. Yeah, I mean, that's just great to see. He's happy. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're all saying, we're home. This is our home. This is our club, and we're going to do everything we can to look at that. I mean, he's going to do everything he can in his powers to continue to make our club a success, and that's what you want.
Yeah, I think touching on what you said about the competition. I mean, we when we were working there, I felt lucky to be working and watching it, and we've under the Wenger years. How many times did we have conversations about not having no competition in the squad? It was like the first 11, 12 players, 13. And then everyone else, the levels was just a bit too far below. And if someone got injured for 6 or 7 weeks, as soon as they got fit, boom, they're straight back in that side because there was no competition there, and people got, there was no accountability, and it was just too easy for them. And I think, like you said, absolutely spot on. The competition, and they've mentioned it in the press. How they both got to fight for the place and put out of respect for each other, for the better of the club. And Tomiyasu's come out and said it as well. He's not happy not playing, but he's going to fight. So they're all saying the right things, and I think it's genuine. I think it's absolutely genuine. One, because they respect the guy that's brought him in there, Arteta. Obviously, didn't get Tierney, but they respect him and what he's done for them, and the way he's improving them as a player and as a human being as well. Because as you saw in the documentary, Arteta is he wants a connection with the person as much as the player. Yes. So and that's what Arsenal used to do as well, and that used to get people to fight for this guy before it all sort of got the on the downturn. But no, good stuff, guys. We just have a quick little break, and I want to talk about the stats and a couple of bits and pieces just to have a look at, and we'll look at the next couple of games, Bodo Glimt and obviously Liverpool, just after this. So just have a look at some of the stats that have popped up. I've got this one from Neil. Obviously, just in comparison of just there, you don't really need to say anything. You can just look at that and look at the goals and the shot conversion and the touches in the opponent's box. It's just it's amazing. I think it's the quality that we've got up top with Jesus as well. But again, it's because of those guys are secure at the back. Like you said, Steve, they're able to have that high press and to be able to get around people, knowing that, Partey's going to be there to absolutely destroy anything that tries to come through. And Xhaka as well, he's probably up there with the amount of high presses or the actions to make that. But I mean, it's crazy. And obviously there's another one as well, which is this, obviously, comparison to last season and to this. The average so far, obviously, it's taken in a small sample size in terms of 8 games. But if you again, everything just seems to be going on the upward curve in terms of Arteta's famous process. I think we saw last couple of years how we didn't know where it was going, but obviously we can see it now. Obviously, getting the quality players in has helped, Neil. But I mean, if those metrics keep going the same way, I know you're saying we're going to win the league, but pretty much, if with consistency and everything, I think we definitely are going to finish in the top 4. That's what I've predicted at the start of the season. But Neil, you think I know you're still going to say quadruple and everybody else. But that. How does that make you feel seeing stats like that and seeing the way we're playing and everything?
While it makes me very happy, I'm not surprised because we're seeing it tangibly on the pitch. It's simple mathematics, isn't it? If we're like a well-oiled machine, we weren't before. There was missing cogs and things. We were sputtering and we were stalling, and it just wasn't working. We didn't seem to have a shape. We didn't have identity. We didn't have balance, and all of that seems to be rectified literally during the friendlies in the summer with the signings that came in. And I it's a credit. This is where I think Arteta deserves a lot of kudos. How he's kept to his vision. He was taking so much stick, finishing 2 seasons in a row at 8th position, and everyone was saying, well, what's the progress? Where's it going? All of us at some point must have felt, he's going to be a great manager, there's no doubt, but is he ready yet? Is it because of a lack of experience? But you know what? He took it on the chin and he stuck to his vision, and he kept saying, be patient, trust me, trust the process. Trust the process was great to hear at the beginning, then it became a bit of a comedy thing because we're thinking, really, trust the process. Yeah. But now, after seeing the documentary, everything seems to have culminated. We've got great fan base. We've got the Ashburton Army. We've got everything coming together perfectly at the same time. And you see that the players, as you guys mentioned earlier, that they're fighting for each other. They're playing for each other. They don't care if they're dropped because they know that there's a bigger picture out there, and they're happy to do that. They're happy to play out in position if need be, if it means a goal for the team in the sense of success. And those statistics don't surprise me. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, because we are defending better, because we're letting in, conceding less goals, that is giving confidence further up the pitch to the creative players, to the players that will give the opportunities to the strikers, and then they are doing their job. And of course, it's all working because now they don't have to worry about, oh my God, there's no creativity, I've got no service, but what I've got to do is defend because the defenders aren't doing their job. Yep. And it's all, all that negativity is gone. Now they trust each other in the sense that they can have a nice flow of football. And we've seen it because we've been scoring some fantastic goals. I mean, the first goal was 22 passes that led up to that. Yeah. So, we're almost rekindling that liquid gold era that Wenger had. And I don't want to compare the two because I want Arteta to have his own identity, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is similarities. And it's, as I said, it's just no surprise to me. And all of those elements are working so nicely together. That's why the statistics are showing the results that they are. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I mean, with the we're in October now. Obviously, we've got it's almost like a mini season now with the amount of games that we've got to play before November, and obviously the numbers that Neil's talking about. Are you concerned? I mean, the key thing to keep that going is going to be the rotation, right? In terms of making sure the rotation is done correctly. As example, Bodo Glimt on Thursday, we don't want to go too strong. We don't want to go too weak either with what we got on the horizon with Liverpool. So, I mean, what would your how would you take it? Would you want to go semi-heavy against Bodo Glimt just to keep that competitiveness going and keep that professionalism going, or would you want to have maybe 6 or 7 players out on Thursday night?
I think come Thursday night, I think you're going to see a number of changes. There are players that need to play. So as Neil said earlier, both Tomiyasu and Tierney and Holding will probably play. So that's 3. Gabriel will probably stick at the back because he did the last time, and that's fine. In midfield, we'll see Sambi in there. We'll see Marquinhos in there. Up front, we should see Eddie because Eddie deserves a chance and he deserves some minutes and game time as well. So we're going to see a number of changes. I don't think I think Xhaka will play because out of all the players, and like I said, I was one of his biggest critics, but more criticising the managers for playing him and not necessarily the player. He's super fit. He's hardly ever injured for us. He will play every minute, every week, every 2 days if you want, and still have the same energy levels. So fair play to him. So he will probably play and give Partey a rest because, like I said, you've got Sambi to play in there.
Yeah.
Rotation, I've talked about it before, and we've talked about it even when Wenger, when he was working at the Emirates. That's always a tricky one, and I just feel if we can get that right, if Arteta can get that right, then October will be just as successful as the first 9 games of the season. It's just making sure he gets that balance right, and I've got no reason to believe that he won't get it right because it seems that he's, as we've already said, he was young a couple of years ago, but he's into it now and he's learning. According to Edu and Arteta, this is the season, and next season possibly other seasons where we should see the process working. So this is what they predicted. And there's one thing that we've seen to be good at Arsenal in the past 20 years or so, 30 years since '96 is making good predictions in what our managers say. So when Wenger said, "Oh yeah, we'll go unbeaten," we did it. When Wenger said, "Oh, you know what? Once the stadium's paid off, it'll be at this time we'll win something." He did. He won the FA Cup. So I've got full belief in both Edu and Arteta, and you know whatever everybody behind the scenes are doing, all the coaches and everything, and getting players fit. 'Cause a lot of I heard a lot of our players now have personal trainers that are monitoring their fitness and keeping them fit and everything else. And again, I talked about basketball last time. And that's something Michael Jordan did. You know, it's to get that competitive edge and to make sure that they're in tip-top condition to be able to perform week in, week out. So, yeah, we should be fine.
Yeah, so it's like again, it's on message. You know, they've had the pain of what happened last season, and they've come back, they've reconvened, and they know that they don't want to taste that again. So they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do to remain professional and make that jump over into the top 4 or even better. Touching on that, I mean, I know he's mentioned some other places. They mentioned by Jackie in the Arsenal podcast about Thomas Partey, about how he when he were at Atletico, he very rarely finished a lot of games. They sort of pulled him after 70 minutes, and we sort of pulled him after, I think 75 minutes on the Saturday. Do you think that's something that we definitely will have to do with him going forward if we want to make sure that this guy, because he's so integral, you know, I mean, he's finally doing those performances that we saw him do for Atletico. You know, it was always up and down and everything, but because I don't think Lokonga, you know, again, he's got a lot of time for him. I like his spirit and everything, but I'm not sure if he's going to be D6. You know, he's going to have to be at the moment, but going forward, hopefully, you know, he'll have a bit of a blossoming, you know, time, or he will take a leap. But in terms of Partey, you know, it's going to be really important how we manage him. And you know, I'm not going to talk about the off-field stuff, Neil, but that's something we're going to have to do. We're going to have to really make sure that we focus on which players we can treat. Like, we can't do that with what we do. The way we treat Partey, for example, we can't do the same with Xhaka, as Steve said. You know, in terms of how they can just keep going and the other we need to sort of wrap the cotton wool. I mean, or do you just think that we just keep playing this guy because he's so important?
No, I think there is something in. I didn't know that Atletico used to do that, because I was wondering why is it he's come to Arsenal and all of a sudden when he had an almost unscathed, you know, injury record there, and then all of a sudden he comes to, it's like we thought it's the Arsenal injury curse, but actually it's the way he was managed. And I didn't know that they used to take him off after 60, 70 minutes. So I think James mentioned it, or I can't remember who it was, saying it might even be Jack. They said that after, you know, in the last 2 games, we've taken them off early because we were able to do so.
Yeah.
And if that's how we have to manage him and manage all the other players in their own different ways, so be it. So be it. I mean, of course, if there's a game where we might be struggling, and he still needs to be on there, he's got to. That's his job. You know, we can't then start thinking about the plan that we've made beforehand. But if there's an opportunity to take him off, absolutely do that. If there's an opportunity where another player can come in and play his role when it's not so imperative that he plays, 100% do that as well. Because you know what, Partey, Xhaka is unbelievable at the moment as well. I mean, we can talk about so many players. When is the last time that we as a club, as fans, have been able to cite so many players? We might have had 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But God, they're all over the place. And Xhaka is just a new signing for me. He's like a phoenix. He's risen from the ashes and he's flapped his wings and he's like, you know, he's causing fireballs all over the place, and rightly so. And good luck to the lad. You know, he's been voted Player of the Month by the fans. He's absolutely fantastic. And I actually wanted him at the club. I'll say it in public on record. And I'm so glad he's stuck. You know, he's stuck by it. He was going to be out the door. Arteta again is instrumental in keeping him here, making him believe that it will work for you. And look at him now. He's probably one of the best midfielders in the Prem at the moment. And that is saying something. So, but I think a big part of him being able to do what he's doing is because of Partey. And that's how important Partey is. Partey is almost like, for me, another Saliba. He's almost, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he was almost in such control. He didn't even have to come out of third gear. He was just in absolute control, and everything he did. I mean, you know, not with the goal withstanding. I mean, that was just, wow. That was a beautifully well taken goal. But everything else about him on the pitch was magnificent. But he's been given the ability to do that. Because he's doing that, he's been given Xhaka the ability to do what he's doing. Yeah. And we have to keep them in tip-top condition for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's been given a platform, hasn't he? Partey's basically given him the platform to do what he's done. And touching on Partey, I mean, the way he moved, like you said, for that third goal, the way he brought the ball out of midfield, you know, he dinked it over. So I played the nice one too with Xhaka, and so it's exciting times, man. I mean, I'm trying not to get carried away. As Steve would know, I'm normally the grumpy guy. You know, like the Muppet Show where they have the 2 grumpy guys at the end and the balcony. That used to be me and Steve when everyone was gone. We used to be
the 2 old guys.
We used to wait for everyone to get stood down, and it used to take hours sometimes, and then it'd just be us 2. We'd be talking, and Steve will be this optimistic guy, and I'll be like, no, you know, this and that. This ain't good enough and everything. But yeah, what do you guys think of Sunday? Obviously, we've got our friend Mr. Klopp coming down. He's already blowing smoke up people's derrieres. Odegaard saying about how great a player he is and how long he's been watching him, and happy that he's playing really well. And obviously tomorrow it will be another player, and then he'll get to Martinelli at some point, which he normally does. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, a lot depends on obviously how we finish against Bodo Glimt, which I'm sure we're all predicting a comfortable win for that. But what's your thoughts, Steve, on how we approach the game on Sunday?
One thing that we've learned from the documentary, especially, is it's go and win the game. That's literally his motto every time. Go win the game. Wenger's motto was the same. Alex Ferguson's motto was the same. Mourinho's motto was get a result, whatever the result is, but it's win the game, and that'll be the same come Sunday. Arteta will just say to the guys, "Look, we go out there and we win the game. Like not get a result, not get a draw, not don't lose. It's we go out there and win the game." Every game he says the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, this season with the players that have come in, as Neil said, having those layers there of quality and experience, and players that know how. You've seen it in Martinelli. He's a different beast. I mean, he was always running last year, but this year there's end product, and there's an extra bit of desire there. Jesus, as Neil said, there's an extra bit of press from the front. Liverpool lost that when they lost Mane. We've gained it since we've got Jesus, and I see a win. I don't see anything else than a loss. I like Liverpool. They've done well. I don't really like Liverpool. Like my brother's a Liverpool fan, but I appreciate what they've done. But we go out there, we win the game. The manager will say it, so we go out there and we win the game.
Neil, I don't have to ask you. Yeah, good stuff, Steve. I don't have to ask you, do I, Neil?
No. I think, you know what? I think the only thing our players, and I'm sure Arteta, I don't know, what do I know? What do I need to say? We don't play the badge. We don't play the team. We just play players. He should just instill in them. They are no different to you. They are players, and you just got to be better than them on the day. That's it. Don't start thinking they're Liverpool. Don't start thinking it's Klopp managed. Don't start thinking about the prestige of that football club. They're coming to our house, and we do the business over them. And we have got to maintain the Emirates in the sense that it is still and will be for a long time a fortress. We've got to make sure, going away to games, especially the bigger stadiums, it's slightly different kettle of fish. But when they come here, when they come to our house, we make sure we let them know who's boss. And I'm gonna be, I think it's gonna be tight. I'm not gonna be disrespectful. I'm not gonna be stupid and delusional. It's gonna be a tough game because I know for a fact Klopp will raise them 100%. Especially with us being top of the league, he'll definitely raise them. You go, let's show these. They think they're this and they think they're that now because they've won 7 out of 8. Well, we'll go over there and show them. And especially because Man United did it, he'll want even more reason for him to do it. So it's going to be a tough game, but I think we've got just a little bit too much for them. And I think, Stephen made a fantastic point. Them missing Mane now, that's huge. That is huge. And you're right. It's like he's gone and we've got Jesus. It's like weird.
Got that energy.
I can see it. I can see a win. It'll be difficult, but we'll see it.
Yeah, I mean, some Liverpool fans have said that Mane dropped off his output. But I think in the big games, he was always there or thereabouts. He was always affording lots of people's sides, and obviously we're all personally glad that he's not about. He's a bit of a shithouse as well. Obviously leaving elbows in and leaving his foot in and everything. So hopefully we won't have to deal with any players getting injured. But I'm confident. Obviously, it's going to be a tight game. But again, it's a chance for a statement win again, like we did last weekend, and maybe catching them at the right time. They seem to be, obviously they conceded 3 goals against Brighton, who are, again, no mugs, but, it's Liverpool side never used to be letting goals in like they have been. But no, I'm confident that we'll get a result there. I think, maybe squeeze a 2-1 or something like that. But yeah, no, thanks for your time, guys. I know
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to have you on as a pair, and thank you for coming back. You'll get the brown envelopes in the post. And Steve needs to get that merch, man. So he needs to get some.
Every week there's new merch out. every my
Oh,
bank
are
cries.
you the merch king, Stephen?
My bank
Yeah.
cries a little bit every week. Just goes, what are you doing?
Wow! Oh my goodness! Good for you. Good for you.
But thanks for coming on. This will, we'll be back hopefully next week after some good positive results, and long may it continue. I've been again Michael Harris. He's been Neil Shah, and he's been
Love it.
Stephen Osakwe. And let's get those 3 points against the Scousers.
Come on, you
come on, guys.